Housing bubble. Did you know that that is one of the most searched terms right now on Google, according to Google Analytics, the term housing bubble. So people are very concerned about a housing bubble. What is going on? House prices are, we feel like house prices are so high. We feel like interest rates are so high, and combined mortgage payments are so high. Well, we need to look into this a little bit deeper to kind of understand what's going on. So over the next couple of videos, I want to talk about two of the most near and dear topics to what I'm seeing every day, and that's going to be demand and inflation. So we're not going to get into inflation as much today, but demand is what we're going to talk about a little bit here, because you cannot have a boom cycle if there's not tremendous demand, right? So, and that's what we're experiencing and why. I'm going to take, again, hopefully I can get a lot of information over very quickly. So first of all, what you need to understand is, if you don't know already, there are way more buyers than there are homes. Like physically, there are not as many homes. Okay. So if you have, 500 people, there's 450 houses. So these numbers are dramatically off. And there's a reason for that. Number one is that 35 years ago, about 30 to 35 years ago, there was a second baby boom. Okay. So like what I'm saying here, there were a whole lot of people born 30 to 35 years ago. So there was the baby boom that we all know of, which is from way back after World War II up to now, where there was this second baby boom. Just a whole lot of babies were born between about 30 to 35 years ago. Okay. Why does that matter? Because household formations are a term that you need to be familiar with. Household formations means that at a certain point in your life, you become ready to form a household. So maybe you get married and you have a child, or you want to do those things. You want to move out of your home. And the average age for people today that they do that is somewhere around 32, 33, 34. So if you have this massive amount of children, way more than normal, okay, so a massive increase in births 30 to 35 years ago, then now what we have is a massive amount of people that are household formation age. Okay, so that is one piece. The second piece is massive immigration. Okay, so just people coming from outside, not births, but coming from outside into the United States, and of course, in need of housing. So we have a tremendous amount of immigration that's forming needs for households or outside household formations. So all of a sudden you have more people than we usually have in any given year over many years combined, where they're looking to buy a house. Now, then on top of that, after the crash of 2007-8 timeframe, home builders almost just stopped building houses. Home construction just massively went down because they were fearful. They wanted the market to settle. And now time has gone on. We have not built enough homes. So I'm going to use some easy numbers. Let's say that there are 1 million household formations in a given year in the United States. Well, then you need 1 million homes to be built, right? I'm saying that's just how that works. I mean, my family had my parents and 5 kids. So that all 7 of us lived in one home. Well, 35 years later, all of a sudden that one home now needs 6 homes, right? Because we need the home that my parents live in and 5 more homes for all the kids that have grown up and moved out. Okay, so that's household formation. And who built those houses? So did somebody build 5 extra houses for my family? Well, no, they didn't. And that's the problem that we have here, is the construction industry, which we depend on. We don't think about it that often. If they don't build houses, there aren't any more houses, but yet babies are born every day. Where are those babies going to live? They need to build houses, and they didn't build enough houses for many years, dramatically too short. So like, let's say that we needed 1 million, let's say that we needed 1 million, use an easy number. They probably built 600,000. Say that we needed 1 million the next year. They probably built 600,000. And then after that, maybe they built 300,000. Like, these numbers were dramatically lower, to the point that at this point right now, the last I heard, the United States of America is 4 million houses short of the household formations. Okay. Supply and demand. So if you have 4 million more families looking for houses than are even built or even constructed. What does that do to the homes that are built, that do exist? It makes them more valuable. Okay, that's the supply and demand aspect of anything that has to do with finances, economics, or anything else. Okay, supply and demand. So there are not enough homes, and there are way more home buyers. And guess what? Tomorrow morning when we wake up, there will be an even bigger gap. And the next day when we wake up, there will be an even bigger gap. And this is going to continue to happen because the construction industry cannot keep up with household formations when you take into consideration population growth that is coming from birth rate as well as immigration. Okay, so why am I getting into that so much? Because think about it. How is this housing bubble going to all of a sudden nobody needs houses anymore? How is that all going to sudden just, stop? I mean, all these people are going to live where? Okay, so there are going to be people that need houses. And if you can't buy a house in Huntington Beach because it's too expensive in California, maybe you move to Santa Ana. But if you can't buy a house in Santa Ana because that's too expensive, maybe you move to Corona. And if you can't buy in Corona, you move to Riverside. If you can't buy in Riverside, you move out to Beaumont. If you can't buy in Beaumont, so if you know Southern California, you'll understand that what that is that's moving further and further and further away from the economic centers. So like it's going from Los Angeles to the next city, to the next city, to the next city, and moving further away because home prices are become more and more affordable. That's why anybody that is listening to this right now has seen a center like a Dallas or a Los Angeles or a Miami expand and grow over the years because where are people going to live? They have to continue to build houses further and further out. That's number one, where the land is. That's number two, where the houses are more affordable for those that cannot afford to live right where people want to live. Like not everybody can live on the coast of Newport Beach, right? But they want to live close, but you kind of keep getting pushed further and further and further out because of home prices. And that's what we're experiencing. So does that mean that all of a sudden no one's going to buy houses? No, it means that they're going to buy houses elsewhere. They're not going to buy houses in the city they were looking at maybe as their primary number one city. They're going to have to move a little further out because home prices become more expensive. Now, you're going to say, well, then home prices have to come down. Not if there's demand. Okay, so let's say that again. I want to buy a house for $1 million. Okay, and that house goes to $1.5 million. I can't buy that house anymore. I'm going to go buy a house for $1 million down the road where there are $1 million houses. Now, who's going to buy that house that's worth 1.5 million now? Somebody else, because the demand is there. There's enough people that want to buy a house for 1.5 that house is still going to get sold. Now, market fluctuations, people take a step back because of interest rates. I used to be able to afford a $500,000 house, but interest rates went up and now I can afford a $450,000 house. Well, look around, because are there still enough people that can afford a $500,000 house? Maybe you can't anymore, but maybe somebody else can afford that $500,000 house. So that house is still going to sell. We're just going to have to move a little bit further out. And I don't say that lightly. It's not what we want to do, but you understand supply and demand. Okay. So this is what I'm seeing. I don't know how it's all going to turn out. None of us do. I mean, there's a war going on in Ukraine and Russia. I mean, this stuff comes out of nowhere, and all these things affect house prices, the economy, inflation, and many other things. Now, again, inflation is a whole nother world, and it goes into everything. So again, if you think house prices are too expensive, well, you better start complaining about gas prices too, and car prices, and the price of a loaf of bread, or the price of going to a movie, or the price of a can of Coke, right? Everything is up like that. That's on inflation. And we just hope that incomes increase in accordance with home prices. A whole nother video. But we'll get into inflation in greater detail here coming soon, because it's such an important topic that everyone needs to know about, whether you're in 8th grade, 10th grade, you're 40 years old, you're 50 years old. Inflation is so important, and it should really be known so that you can make decisions with your money over time. So that's some information about supply and demand, and this crazy thought of, what's going to happen. Are we in a housing bubble that is about to burst? We'll see, because we'll see how crazy the government gets in trying to slow inflation, and how much damage they're going to do to the economy, because they're going to hurt the economy. They're always so slow to react. Again, we'll get into that another time. So keep in mind as you're saying, hey, no one's going to buy these houses and the housing market is going to come crashing down. Keep in mind and think very hard about the demand situation. So if you are still seeing a bunch of offers coming in at a purchase price that you think is too high, you're wrong. You're wrong. You understand that if offers are coming in, the value of any item in the world is defined as what? It's what someone is willing to pay. Okay, so if I have this cup right here of water and someone is willing to pay me $50 for this cup of water is worth $50. You understand how that works? So until there's nobody at these open houses, why would you bring your home price down? Why are you going to lower your home price? If there's 10 people standing outside that want to buy it for $800,000, your house is worth $800,000. All right. Now, how all that plays out, there's more detail to it, but that's the general information that you need to think about when it comes to asking yourself is, are we in some sort of a housing bubble and are things going to crash? Are they going to go down? We have to see what people are willing to pay because that is what the true value of a home is. If you have any more questions or comments, you think I'm crazy, let me know. Subscribe, comment, share, and let's talk more about what's going on. Have a great day.